What's good, everybody? It's your boy Billy. We back at it again with another sample tutorial. This week we're gonna take a look at how I make R&B soul samples specifically for artists like Muni Long, Lucky Daye, or Giveon. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, let's start with our chords. First up, we have a G sharp major ninth into a G dominant seventh, landing on an F minor ninth, and then again finishing on a G dominant seventh. And I just put the B at the top. Let's take a listen to the chord progression, and this is the preset. And for this mixer track, all I'm doing is putting an EQ on there, really taking a dip in this low mid section, and then it's completely just rolling off the bass. An important part to capture the R&B and soul vibe is layering. You want to make sure that you're really thinking about the layers that you're adding to your sample. For instance, here I have the sine pad, but I'm then also adding this Rhodes, this violin, and then another Rhodes, but with a distinct attack. All together, this is what they sound like. And for my violin specifically, or I guess cello in this case, I'm still playing the chords, but I'm just doing it in an inversion, and specifically to get this sound. So I think it was like, it adds a real nice twist and kind of element that you're listening to when you're hearing the violin, as opposed to the other chord instruments. All right, now let's take a look at the mixer channel for the rest of the sounds. For this Rhodes, all I'm doing is completely taking out this mid section. I heard some frequencies I didn't like. It's kind of clashing with some of the other sounds, and I'm just rolling off the low end on that one. For my cello, again, just taking out a nice dip in the mid to high mid section, rolling off the low end, using this FL spreader. I think it's a pretty interesting plugin, kind of giving you some stereo width as opposed to something like stereo from Waves, and then throwing on some rev spring on there. And lastly, the channel for the Rhodes with that harder attack. I'm just taking a dip in the mids here, and also just rolling off the low end as well. And another important part, when you have a lot of layers and a lot of distinct sounds, you want to kind of put each one in their own pocket, and just be mindful of that while you're mixing. Let's take a listen to another layer that I added on top, which is just this electric guitar where I'm just playing the chords of the main melody. And for this, putting it through Guitar Rig 7 on this Jimmy's Hotline U9, putting a tape echo on there, putting it through a compressor, putting it through Sound City Studios on this lead guitar ambience preset, doing a small EQ. To me, I think there's just a little bit too much of the high end, so I just want to kind of tame that down a little bit, and then also throwing up a hollow vintage reverb. And while I did play the chords in for the guitar, I also added splice samples for guitar leads. Let's take a listen to this composition. All right, and if you want a video on how I chop my guitar samples from Splice or other platforms to kind of really create something unique, check out this video here. I'll put it up on the screen now. All right, now, so for my mixer track on this one, I'm really trying to glue all these guitar sounds together and make them sound like one cohesive composition. Taking a dip in the low mid and mids here, I feel like it kind of takes the tone out of the guitar a little bit and really kind of glues it together. And also just taking out a little bit of the high mid, so it's not clashing with some of my other sounds I have in that pocket. Putting on an EP, tape echo on here, and then finally, again, using it, putting it through Sound City Studios on the lead guitar ambience, and just tweaking with the mic distance settings to kind of get the spread that I want from the sound. And then lastly, putting on a Valhalla vintage reverb. All right, so now let's hear what the guitars sound like together. They're all doing different things, but they still fit together and feel like they have their own space. All right, now moving on to my vocal. For a sample like this one, I don't want too much of a vocal sample in the background, just because obviously you want the sample to be open enough for the singer to do their thing on top of it. But I still want to add just a little bit of air candy through some Vox samples. Let's take a listen to what they sound like. So really just ad libs, really. And on this one, again, putting on an EQ on here, and this technique here, I just feel like it really takes out the life of the sample, so I can add it into my overarching sample, if that makes sense, with that EQ. And then I'm putting on an EP tape echo, and then finally a Valhalla vintage reverb. All right, next for this sample specifically, I wanted to add some undertones, something that kind of sparkled in the background to really kind of create a nice atmosphere. Let's take a listen to these sounds. And then in the context of the overarching sample. All right, now for the mixer channel effects, for this one, just completely taking out the low end. It's a background noise. I don't want it to have too much life, but I do want to get the effect and the feeling I'm after from it. Putting on a pan man, I kind of created my own preset here, just to kind of slowly get it to pan left and right. And then finally, again, putting on this FL spreader. Next, let's go ahead and take a listen to the live bass that I played in. All right, for the bass mixer channel effect, just EQing it here, putting on some R bass mono. I want to try this kind of effect change for this bass on this one, and then putting it through an SSLG bus compressor. And if you haven't tried R bass before, it really brings out your low end. I think it's a really nice plugin to use. Just don't go too crazy with it. Lastly, let's take a listen to our drums. That's going to bring everything together. Now for my mixer channel effects for my drums, like I mentioned before, anytime I'm kind of mixing two kick sounds together, two snare sounds together, two hi-hat sounds together, I like to go in and EQ it. So this is the EQ for my kick. Next is my snare, and I'm just compressing my snare as well, just to make sure it stays punchy as I'm kind of leveling it. And then lastly, just a simple EQ for my hi-hats. For my drum bus, I have this tape recorder here from UAD on the drum bus preset, and I'm just tweaking the output. And lastly, just putting on an SSLG bus compressor. I think hitting about 2 to 3 dB on this compressor. Now for my overall buses, for my instrument bus, I'm just putting on an EQ, rolling off the low end, taking a dip in the low mid so the singer can have a pocket. And then also putting it through an SSLG bus compressor on the mix glue preset. And then for my final master channel effects, I have a Potec EQ here. I have an SSLG bus compressor. I have an L2 limiter, and then finally a Fruity Soft Clipper. Now that we've gone over all the elements, let's go ahead and take a listen to the final product. It's been your boy Philly. Let me know what you guys want to hear in the next one. thinking about doing a live cook up, let me know in the comments if that's something you guys are interested in.